Today is Wednesday, November 1st, 2023, and we are in the Wyndham High School auditorium. The time is 6:30 p.m. May I have a roll call, please?
Kate Brooks. Jessica Bridges.
Here.
Jenny Butler.
Here.
Jody Carroll.
Here.
Caitlin Downs.
Here.
Mark Maloney. Shar Jewell.
Here.
Mike McClellan. Christina Small.
Here.
William Gibson.
Please rise for pledge allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty, justice for all. Any adjustments to the agenda?
The only adjustments to the agenda that went out, actually the two adjustments that went out on Friday. One is the board's going to be talking about requesting a waiver of days for 2 days lost for safety last Thursday, Friday, and also the addition of a grade 5 teacher appointment at Manchester School.
Thank you. Item 5 is public input. The purpose of public comment is to provide an opportunity to address the board on matters specific to our schools and educational matters.
All other comments beyond that scope are not appropriate for this meeting. The board will listen carefully to all members of the public but will not respond. Speakers are expected to follow rules of common decency and decorum. Interrupting any speaker or board member during commentary is not allowed. We ask that all speakers address the board and not the audience. Each person will be permitted to address the board one time during public comment with a maximum speaking time of 3 minutes. Sharing time with another speaker is not permitted. I will alert the speaker at the 3-minute mark. If speakers do not complete their comments within the allotted 3 minutes, they may submit a written statement to the board. Written statements are also accepted from those who do not wish to speak publicly. Requests for information or concerns that require further research will be noted and referred to the superintendent for further action if necessary. Discussion of matters involving individual students is not permitted during public comment due to the privacy, confidentiality, and due process rights of any RSU 14 student. Comments regarding any individual staff, either by name or specifically identifiable by position, are not permitted. If the comment continues, the mic will be turned off. Complaints about any district employee should follow the process outlined in policy KEB, public complaints about school personnel, and are not permitted during public comment. We ask that adults share their first and last name in the town they reside in. Students are only required to share their first name. Thank you for joining us this evening. We look forward to hearing from you. Who would like to go first? Seeing none. Oh.
Just wheeled this together, so it's probably gonna be a little rough. We'll do what we can do. And if I could just mention one housekeeping item first before my time starts. Politely, we've asked a number of times if we could be like on the same level with you guys to give these speeches. Just kind of a housekeeping issue. People at home have said they can't hear us because they can't see us. And I just think it would be better, and there's got to be the technology available to get us on a level ground with you folks. It would just be more comfortable, and I think, again, the people at home deserve to have a better view of what we're saying. They mentioned that it's hard to hear us or see us or whatever. So, that being said, Ken from Wyndham. Again, I threw this together, so hang with me. So you want to build a $171 million school. My taxes went up $4,000 this year, just up. It's a gut punch. If you can't make a school work on a $56 million budget, which will only increase with a new school, then you need to step back and take a whole different approach to what you're doing. Will my daughters get good grades and do something that makes me proud, I might give them a few bucks, or better yet, we'll take them to Dairy Queen. RSU 14 is getting worse grades, and that's on you folks. Because of your performance, I'm not willing to give you any more money, nor am I in the mood to buy anyone a sundae. A couple of you out there I will. Anyway. You want to sell us a Denali with all kinds of bells and whistles, which frankly can cause a car to fail. All we need is a basic Chevy with fewer options that is more dependable and will stay on the road to academic success and not veer off. You need a transmission to get the kids to school and a lot of finely tuned motors to teach them, which are a lot of wonderful teachers in here. Currently you have a shortage of both. You're trying to find teachers, you're trying to find bus drivers. You're saying, if you're running a business, I have to ask, how do you think you can build on that? Those are the foundational things you need to build a school, and you don't even have the basics. Here are some of the bells and whistles you're trying to sell us that I'm not buying. I don't think a lot of other parents are. And this is where a lot of our money and time is going. Sexually explicit material in any media or form. We don't need it, no thank you. Posters saying that if my child wants to talk to a counselor about her sexuality without a parent's consent, that counselor can help them. No thank you. Counselors in general, you've been advertising for more counselors. You're going to pay them. You're looking for employees to be counselors. Why? What does that have to do with academics? Why do we need so many now? We didn't before, and we were just fine. Actually, with better grades. And I think kids were more comfortable in school before we had all this confusion injected into them, besides academics. I would put that money to teachers. That's what we need, and bus drivers, to get the people to school, instead of a whole bunch of counselors that scare me, for good reason, and a lot of you know why. We don't need hormone pills in the gas tanks of the kids. We don't need chest binders around their air intake. It will kill the car's performance. Cars have enough computers. We don't need another one that'll malfunction right out of the gate and ask questions or try to collect data on our children and ask them questions like, are they heterosexual, gay or lesbian, bisexual? Or I describe myself as sexual identity in some other way. I'm not sure about my sexual identity. I do not know what this question is asking. Is that not going to confuse a kid's mind? Seriously, guys. This is the stuff we don't need. And this is why schools are failing. And this is why I'm not willing to pay another dime for this stuff. Another question. Is that the time?
Thank you.
Holy mackerel, a lot more. Oh, well.
Anyone else?
Good evening, Rebecca Cole Wyndham. I, on behalf of the staff at the primary school, wanted to welcome Officer Rob Hamilton. He's our new SRO. The kids have adored having him there. He always has a smile. He is highly visible in the hallways, and the kids feel really excited to have a new friend that's helping to take care of them. I also wanted to thank the PTA for the apple bar that they provided for us a few weeks ago. It was a much needed and somewhat more healthful treat than what we usually provide for ourselves. So thank you to the PTA for their thoughtfulness for that. And a little bit more on a personal note, but also on behalf of some professional colleagues, the outreach from our community, the outreach from our community to the community of Lewiston has been so appreciated, and I just wanted to thank everybody who has provided some sort of support, whether it's through social media, through donations, through gifts of time, or just a shoulder. Just know that the ripple effect of that is greater than you might know. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Hey, Justin Wynot from Wyndham. There is an individual, my grown daughter's maternal grandmother, that recently made defamatory accusations about me on social media that are false. Some others, including elected officials, chose to fuel the fabricated narrative based on sensationalized hearsay about me from a stranger online without any evidence or outreach to me. Without regard to who might be hurt, all to win an election. These fabrications are consistent with an ongoing pattern of abuse, neglect, and utter disregard of my now grown daughter's well-being that was exhibited by my daughter's maternal family since her infancy, and which led to my gaining sole custody. I'm running for school board because I'm seeing a profound influx of harmful laws and policies being imposed on students from the MDOE. As a district, we must do everything we can to empower, guide, and direct these students who are underdeveloped, who do not have fully formed frontal lobes, in a way that will ensure a proper education and allow them to develop effective critical thinking skills. As we look around at our communities, we see an ever-growing population of addicts, homelessness, and severe deterioration of mental health. This crisis is being created in part by a failure in kids' public education. An increasing number of Maine schools are now employing therapists, social workers, and doctors who provide counseling and medical and even prescription intervention without parental knowledge or consent. These treatments and medications can have dangerous side effects and life-altering, irreversible consequences. While these laws and policies come from the state, our school board can determine how they are handled in our district, and the transparency with parents must stay 100% according to the 14th Amendment. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Stephen Napolitano, and I'm from Wyndham. About a few weeks ago, I was in a book challenge meeting, and it was very civil, and we had great conversation. And it was one of the books was Kingdom of Ash. This book is in the middle school, and the librarian and Principal Applestein were fantastic in having that conversation. We came to a conclusion that the book, based on the resources that the school uses, shouldn't be in the middle school. Now, here's the situation. They can't remove it because the book is under a book challenge. So my suggestion is, knowing that this book shouldn't be there and is recommended for 10th, 11th, and 12th grade, that we need to find a way to change or amend the policy so we know that it shouldn't be in there and it's still in there right now. Why should it matter that it's under a book challenge? If we're all in agreement, the decision should be made just like that. If you find out that there's a poison in your HVAC system, and if a policy says, well, we're gonna wait because we have to have a meeting. No, you're gonna get rid of it right away. You're gonna take people out of harm's way. And I'm hoping that we can have that sense of community to say this isn't good for our children. So I extend my appreciation to the folks that were in the book challenge meeting, and if for any other book challenges that I'm a part of, I hope they continue to go that way regardless of the results. So thank you very much for your time. Oh, actually, one other thing I want to say. I hope the board will consider looking at other school districts like Bonnie Eagle who are now not removing books from the school, but placing them that are not age appropriate into another area, and the parents need to opt in to let their kids get those books. So I think that's progress. Everybody has access to the books. The parents have some say as well, and it could be a great solution to end all this. Thank you very much.
Kristen Day, Wyndham. I wasn't planning on talking, but I have a little bit of a compliment sandwich. So it's been a really good start to the school year. My daughter's a sophomore this year. Talked to Ryan Karen in a book meeting, and you know, it just feels like there's a good vibe, that people are putting their best foot forward. Had a good experience. That's the top of the sandwich. The middle is there's a new sign-out policy for going to the bathroom in the high school. I don't know if it's in the whole district. So I'm opposed to it because I feel like it invades students' privacy. I feel like there's a data trail of when they go, where they go. I understand the intent of it to, I'm assuming it's to keep kids safe, to make sure that if something happens, there's a record. She feels like she works really hard to be an upstanding student, upstanding citizen. She doesn't want to be tracked. And I was just wondering if this went through the school board, or if it was a practice or policy or put in place by the superintendent. Is this something that is going to be discussed, evaluated on, you know, how it's working? So, and the bottom of my compliment sandwich is, it's also an upside. The book challenge meetings have been going really well. We've had excellent conversation, and I really feel like the conversation is moving to a more productive, in a more productive direction. Thank you.
Does anybody else wish to speak? Seeing none, I'm closing public comment. Next is Superintendent's report.
Am I on now? Perfect. Couple things that I just want to share tonight. First of all, just want to say a big thank you for our Windham Police Department, Cumberland County Sheriff's Department, our school administrators, our teachers, our support staff, all of our school counselors, our social workers, for how they responded to a community crisis starting last Wednesday night. I think all of us will remember where we were Wednesday night when we first learned of the tragedies that took place in Lewiston, which then echoed across into Lisbon and Winthrop and Auburn, to the greater Bath area, to the greater Brunswick area, and ultimately not only impacted that area, but impacted us throughout the state. Becca's right. Not only the outpouring of people in our community, but the outpouring that I've observed in my regional groups of school districts banding together to provide support services for the many different schools that were impacted. Over the time, I think all of us, and we have many seasoned administrators here in RSU 14 and many seasoned teachers, none of us have had the, none of us have ever been through an event like this, and especially the unknown of all that took place Wednesday night, Thursday night, Friday night. I live out in West Cumberland. I've shared this with people, not far from the Main State Turnpike, and all night long, ambulances, sirens, support through the flight path that's heading up to the Auburn Airport, also just the outpouring of support and services, and having a chance to speak to colleagues, and the idea of, I think, all of us going from anger to sadness to questioning to wondering about our family safety. But I just wanted to just take a moment to thank all those individuals, our local law enforcement, checking in 2-3 times a day to make sure that we were feeling supported, that we had everything that we needed, to work with us on reopening plans, to be very frank with us, to say there were times where they felt like, yes, we could open, and other times where they were just spread so thin with resources and looking to support other parts of the state that it was difficult. So we will be taking a look at action, things that happened, looking at and reaching out to our colleagues in Lewiston. I know that they're working through things, but many of you know that they were actually holding parent-teacher conferences the night that all this happened, to have their lessons learned. Our safety team will be, which met a couple times throughout Thursday and Friday. We'll also be meeting this Friday with some new external resources to see better ways that we can support. But again, just want to thank everyone who provided that, and also the student focus that they maintained and worrying about their kids, what their kids were going through, what their families were going through, and honestly how they best could support them on their return. So just thank you for that. Switching gears, we have one board member who is absent tonight and has missed one of the first meetings in a while, Kate Bricks, who has served as our board chair. This would have been Kate's last meeting. And Kate has been on the RSU 14 board and has been on the Windham School Department board since 2001, so 22 years of service to our district. And over the course of those years, all the different things and pieces that she has had a handle in. And many of you who've been in the district for a while, you may remember this visual, which there used to be posters of this spread out and around the district, and it was kind of a historical timeline that Sandy, my predecessor, had done. But just some of the things that Kate was involved with as a board member, first of all, starting in 2001. So first of all, we would have been in 2001 right in the midst of planning for a new Windham High School. And final steps would have been taking place. Also, there would have been final construction, the dedication that took here in 2004, strategic plans that took place after that, moving forward to 2009 with the consolidation of Windham and Raymond. And for those of you who've been in the district for a while, that actually started probably in 2007 with discussions about consolidating with Westbrook, Windham, and Raymond. And there were conversations that took place. In fact, Jeannie Riley, we stole her out of Westbrook at that time. And she actually for a while served as the food service director for both communities. So coming into the new district, negotiating 3 contracts. Throughout that time, also, we had the PEP grant, which brought in over $1 million of physical education equipment that the board was involved with approving. 2011, and it just feels like we've had this forever, all-day kindergarten adopted. Prior to that, they were all half-day programs. There was an AM and a PM. We saw questions at that time in 2014-15 with the Windham Middle School Building Committee that in 2016 was actually getting ready to send out a referendum to the voters for building a new middle school at that time. But the decision was made at that moment in 16 by that same committee to go ahead and put in a state application. And how smart that they were to put in an application to have a considerable sum of money covered by the state of Maine. Moving forward, 22 budgets that Kate's been involved with, pre-K expansion, all sorts of committees, hundreds of policies, at least 4 strategic plans. There's also been the size of the district with negotiating 2 withdrawal agreements with Raymond and going through the process and wondering what's going to happen in the district, the construction of a bus garage, hiring a new superintendent, hiring a new assistant superintendent. Oh, and by the way, in 2020, there was a pandemic, which then also involved return to school plans, and then ultimately serving on the most recent construction committee. I know Kate's not with us tonight. I don't know if she's watching or not, but just wanted to say a big thank you for her 22 years of service. It's a long time to be part of a school board and to be part of a school community. So just thank you, Kate. Hopefully you get a chance to watch this at some point. Lastly, switching gears, next Tuesday, November 7th, we have a referendum. That referendum is to decide whether or not the communities of Windham and Raymond want to move forward with a new middle school to be placed at 61 Windham Center Road, as well as 77 Windham Center Road, those 2 pieces of property coming together. And just to point out to people, if they have questions, the RSU 14 website right on the front page has a whole page of middle school construction, has all the notes going back to the early days of the building committee and can answer any questions, but also they can feel free to reach out. Should the referendum pass, the board will actually start the project on November 15th with authorizing funds to be borrowed to start development of plans, as well as to fund DEP site permits to purchase property, as well as starting to get an early site package going of getting in roads, parking lots, and all those other pieces. So positive referendum. If there's a negative referendum, RSU 14 board will need to take a look at how they might want to restructure the question. Just a reminder to the public that the district has 6 months from the September 13th date that it was approved by the state school board. After the referendum basically leaves it down to 4 months. We have 2 months that it actually takes to send a ballot question out for printing. So really, we have a month and a half as a board, or you have a month and a half as a board to work through the process of a new question. So a really tight timeline in order to fit it in. If it's not done within that 6-month period, the district risks forfeiting the $131 million that's been set aside by the state of Maine. So it's an important question. I know there's a number of facets of this for community members. If anybody wants any information, they can feel free to reach out.
Thank you. Next is board roundtable. Who would like to go first?
I'll go. I have to say that we are very fortunate to have a very supportive community. I happen to be involved with the Wyndham Rec Department Trunk or Treat event last Saturday. And I have to say the Wyndham High School cheerleaders, if I understand correctly, won first place in the community trunk division. Chamber singers also were there, and they had a wonderful Broadway-themed trunk. It was especially wonderful with the support from our local police department, the sheriff's department, and our fire and rescue, where the families truly felt safe and were encouraged to arrive and participate. It was a sign-up event, and they had a great turnout in spite of everything else happening last week. So very grateful that we have a wonderful and supportive community in spite of everything that's happened.
You have my mic. Thanks for sharing. I want to just thank the citizens and staff of the district for the highly engaging conversations and interest in the middle school builds. I also want to thank Mr. Howell for the 19 presentations that he's done on the information side. One of our board goals last year, of course, was to improve our communication and meet people where they are in terms of how they consume content. This project is no exception with how much content is really, involved, and depending on what level you're involved in, whether it's board or build committee. Just want to thank you for doing that, Mr. Howell, and of course our architects, but we're paying them for that, so, I just want to encourage all the voters in our district to either visit the website, contact a school board member via the RSU14 website to find our email, or Mr. Howell directly with any questions that you might have that would inform your vote, and we'll be eager to see the results of that next week on which direction we'll take based on Mr. Howell's information one way or the other. It's a separate topic. I do want to request that our efforts remain unwavering in understanding ways that we can improve bus safety for our drivers, for our students on the bus, both the buses, inside the bus and on the roads. We've had several incidences, obviously not unique to our district. This is not an RSU14 problem exclusively, but I just want to make sure as we talk about our board goals tonight that remains something that we continue to be really vigilant about for safety. We took our recent bus tour. I was glad to see that there's several technology pieces that not only have been already added to our buses, but a number of things that we're exploring for innovative ways for us to go back and look at different incidences in terms of how to capture the information that we need, specifically inside the bus at the 180-degree angle cameras throughout because of those high seats and how difficult it is for our bus drivers to track what's going on. Give us the ability to do that, which we can understand sort of facts and situations that lead up to the safety of the students, so inside and outside the bus. And I also just wanted to echo, I haven't worked with Kate Brooks very long, it's just been a year and a half, but just wanted to, hopefully she hears us tonight and reach out obviously separately, but she's got a calm, cool, collected way about her, and as a new board member, I found that her way of being not only approachable, but really just the vast amount of knowledge and approach that she had to nearly every situation that I found not only reassuring, but it was a great opportunity to learn from her skills, and I know we'll miss that skill set on the board. And that's all I had for tonight. Anyone else? Go ahead, Char.
Just to kind of follow up to what Jody was talking about communication. For those that aren't aware, Jody and I and the members of the Raymond Select Board had a workshop meeting in Raymond Monday night. It was well attended. with a bunch of concerned citizens regarding the new, the potential of the new middle school build. It was a different format of meeting than we normally run. It was very interactive, where we had back and forth conversation. We were very pleased that people remained extremely professional and courteous, and had some really good, well-founded concerns, on both sides of the fence, about the future of our students and our community. And the meeting lasted about 3 hours, but it definitely was not what some would say was a waste of time. Not at all. Just the inverse. I would definitely be supportive of other open workshops like that with the school board and involving town officials if it's deemed appropriate, or even state officials, depending on the subject matter, the topic. It was just really, really, really great use of time, and having open dialogue and being able to talk through things and people's ideas and concerns. And I walked away from that meeting feeling really good about the interaction and what we were able to get through, which was some pretty difficult topics, a lot of emotions tied to those topics, but it was really great. So I just wanted to share that.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, we will move on to committee reports. Finance? That's you.
So finance has not met. Our next meeting is November 15.
Okay, facilities?
We'll be meeting shortly, though, in the next couple of weeks, I think, Chris, right? And the other thing, so you don't have to come back to me again, is we have not had a vocational technical school meeting since the last time I reported out.
Thank you. Policy. So policy met October 23rd as well as this morning. We worked through IJJC, which is the selection of instructional materials, as well as IJJCE1, which is the new reconsideration form. And then we did a lot of work to make sure that all of our purchasing procedures also align with our new draft policy. So that's in a really good place right now. So next step, we're basically going to be able to hopefully copy most of that into IJJL. Just take out the pieces that are only applicable to instructional materials. There might be a few parts we need to add to make it applicable to library materials. And again, assure that all of our associated forms and procedures are really well aligned there, but we do feel that most of the work is complete in that section. That part of our process should go a lot quicker. Because we took a widely accepted, widely utilized policy, bifurcated it, and dissected the parts, once everything is complete, we will send it off for legal review just to make sure that we're still in compliance with applicable law. And assuming from that point that there's no changes needed, IJJ policies will be ready for a full board review. And we meet again next Monday. And curriculum?
So curriculum was supposed to meet Monday. We canceled due to the circumstances of last week, allowing the teachers some time because they had a lot on their plate on Monday. So we will be meeting on November 20th.
And adult ed. Jenny, did you have an adult ed update?
No, no report.
Okay. That's all right. Oh, technology. Oh, wonderful. Thank you.
So I did actually miss this meeting, but I have been charged with doing the update, and it's a pretty brief one, but a couple things I just wanted to share with the team here tonight. They went through goals and objectives, which, as in any committee, can feel like it takes a little bit longer than you want it to, but it's an important part of the process. So first meeting back for the year, so what's going well, what can be improved, and then a discussion around impacting, how would limited resources impact the technology needs for the students in the district, and I think that's a good conversation to continue having. And a couple things on artificial intelligence, so in the category of new technology, it's really interesting. I'm more of the mindset to say, you know, with policy, we should put a policy in place straight away. But the process really is not as simple as that. And so there's a couple things going on in terms of education as a few first steps to that. So there's a 4-part AI seminar that's currently being offered by the Maine School Superintendents Association. Myself, Christine Frost-Bertnay, and Bob Hickey, the tech director, have been taking those seminars. They are via Zoom, which is incredibly awkward, but it definitely is, the content is excellent. And there's not really any experts per se, but this particular individual teaching it is very good at what he does, and he's a consultant in this area. And I'm happy to share those notes, but essentially what I can say is they're talking about what it is, how it's used, and at this point we're going through the ethics, the bias, and the safety aspects of it. So once that series completes, then I'll definitely provide an update with some of the data. So that's one of the pieces. A couple of the team members in administration also attended a seminar put on by a legal firm used in the state for just really the legal aspects of AI and what should be considered. So before we really go too much further into it, and all of this work I see as a view to set us up going into the rest of this year to set up for what policies do we need in the district for this and how is it already being used. I thought that the expression that he used was the toothpaste is already out of the tube was very appropriate in this case, because there are a lot of educators already using this, and we know students are already using this technology, and so it's just sort of trying to move with it, I think will be our biggest challenge. And then thirdly, another set of training that'll be done at the South Portland High School for Technology Directors Association in January. There's, I think, 93 different districts participating with 150 attendees. So there'll be some rich conversation, and the technology director will come back into the space with the administration and the policy team to look at what we will hope to see as an acceptable use AI policy coming through the board, hopefully in the latter part of next year. So that's the first part of technology. We know that Parent Square was launched this year with a goal that aligned with our goals last year to improve our communication in a more streamlined manner. So just gathering some feedback on that. One of the things that we've been trying to do is engage the community. So there was an ad put in the paper to try to engage people to download the app. It's not just parents and educators, right? We want community members also to be able to receive community updates on this. And so that's something that we want to continue to share out. If anyone's interested in downloading that Parent Square app, they can just go to the RSU 14 website, and then right on the main page, there's a little icon in the top left called Parent Square, and you can enter your email address and sign up for that app, and you'll get community-facing announcements from our administration. The tech team has been working with the safety team on some visitor management technologies. We've heard a little bit about that as a board team. So there was some technology conversations around that. And then the BenQs. I think we all are very aware of the fact that we used touch boards, BenQ boards. You may remember last year we went with an alternate technology called Promethean, because the BenQ boards weren't meeting the needs as far as reliability and flexibility for some of the grades within the district. So we've implemented some of the Promethean boards and moved some of the BenQ boards around. And then looking at NWEA testing was met with some challenges because there was an update done right before the testing was administered. So that presented some challenges, unfortunately. And as if that's not already hard enough to get executed as it is. And then just, looking back at email amalgamation for students and that kind of thing. So that's all I had for technology. Our next meeting will be on December the 14th.
Thank you. All right, moving on to report of the secretary. May I have a motion, please?
I move to approve the minutes of the October 17th, 2023 meeting.
Second.
Board discussion? Okay, and we will need a roll call vote.
All right. Jessica Bridges.
Yes.
Jenny Butler.
Yes.
Jody Carroll.
Yes.
Caitlin Downs.
Yes.
Marge Gavoni. Yes. Shar Jewell.
Yes.
Christina Small.
Yes. Another motion?
I move to approve the minutes of the October 18th, 2023 meeting.
Second.
Board discussion? Okay, all those in favor?
Jessica Bridges,
Yes.
Jenny Butler,
Yes.
Jody Carroll,
Yes.
Caitlin Downs,
Yes.
Marge Gavoni, Shar Jewell,
Yes.
Christina Small.
Yes. All right, moving on to appointments.
I move to approve the following appointment for the 2023-2024 school year. Julie Young, grade 5 teacher, 1 year only, Manchester, MA 28, $79,484.54, prorated to $51,097.41.
Second.
Board discussion? All those in favor?
Jessica Bridges,
Yes.
Jenny Butler,
Yes.
Jody Carroll,
Yes.
Caitlin Downs,
Yes.
Marge Gavoni, Shar Jewell,
Yes.
Christina Small.
Yes. Okay, strategic plan update.
Thank you. So this might look familiar. This is our annual check-in on the strategic plan, which you know is a 2021 to 2026 guiding document that had a lot of folks participate in the development of. He has the magic. This captures some of the voices that were involved in the development of this plan. And those sitting in the audience who are presenting tonight on your building goals and program goals, all the work that they're doing, you should hear threads of this plan in their goals that they'll present to you tonight. Just as a reminder, out of our visioning work and community and student and staff, all sorts of folks participated, board members, we are committed to these 3 statements. The first being that we are committed to establishing a safe, supportive, inclusive community where all students feel welcome. We're committed to developing strong partnerships so that every student gains the knowledge, skills, and character to thrive in an ever-changing, diverse world. And lastly, we're committed to fostering learner aspirations through engagement and authentic and diverse learning experiences. And you'll hear a lot about engagement tonight. Our core beliefs, there are 6. We're going to review those briefly. Those are the biggest umbrella topics that guide our work. But if you look at this first core belief, you can see the overarching statement. We believe we have an ethical responsibility to ensure that every member of our community feels safe, valued, and achieves in a learning environment that encourages diverse perspectives. And I won't read them all to you, but they all have an overarching guiding statement. We'll pause for each one. And under each of these umbrella topics, we have strategic goals. So that's the next level. And under those, we have very specific action steps. And those action steps, of which there are many under each core belief, those action steps guide the work over 5 years. And one thing we do as an administrative team is that we periodically check in, and you all can see at any point on the district site that has all of these guiding documents, you can see our progress toward each of the core beliefs and towards each of the action steps. So we're going to get to that slide in a moment. This is just a screenshot of it, but our administrators, I believe it was in August, where they checked back in at each core belief and looked at every single discrete step, every goal that we set. Some of them are really big and will take 5 years to accomplish, and others have been done. And you'll see, or completed, I should say, you'll see that the different colors on the right represent, that's just a snapshot of the district. We have goals that are in progress under this core belief. This core belief specifically that you see a picture of is transferable skills, those real world skills, the knowledge and skills that kids can take out into the world. We should see a lot of them at all grade levels, kindergarten right on through, or pre-K right through to adult learners. We should be able to see those connections between the work they're doing in the classroom and that real world connection, a local community connection, or seeing how that math applies in the world outside of school. And so you can see in progress and things that aren't quite started yet, things that really the district takes a lead on that might not be applicable to a school or program. And you can see areas where we have completed some of those very specific action steps. And so you can look at every core belief and see the progress. And I think there's a lot to be proud of. There's a lot of progress, and there's still a lot of work that needs to be done on each of the core beliefs. You may see in the next 5-year strategic plan, some of those will carry over as they're things that districts work on for decades. Mr. Howe.
Thank you. Just a couple things to point out. So first of all, Christine, thank you for doing the overview. But again, if anyone in the public is interested in taking a look at where we are in our strategic plan, if you go to the RSU 14 website, look under district, look for strategic plan, it will take you to a direct link, and you can go ahead and click, and there's 6 different spreadsheets, and it lists each different building by each of those spreadsheets for each core beliefs, and then giving an opportunity to see where have buildings feel like they've made some great progress within the strategic plan, and then also areas that they've identified of completed or maybe in progress or something that they haven't started yet. But tonight we have an opportunity to it's a goal setting night. So it's an opportunity to take a look at district goals for this year, which I'm going to run through here in a second. We're going to have a chance to hear from all of our different buildings. So they'll have an opportunity to talk about goals that they're working on, things that are going to be connected. I hope that you start to see a thread of that connection and that support back to the strategic plan, and then also back to the district goals. And then lastly, we're going to end the evening talking about your goals as a board, and then also my goals as a superintendent, work that I've identified this year that I'm going to be working on. So within our district goals, first goal, which is under an instructional framework, and the board members, you may remember last year, we had a chance to work with LSI, which is Learning Services, and they help us work to develop a walkthrough tool where we were working as an administrative team on identifying elements of an instructional framework. And with things within the instructional framework, are targets clearly identified and are they clearly posted for students? If you walk into a classroom, are kids engaged? Are they working together? Are they working in pairs? Are they working together as a class? Are they working independently? Also looking at the level of feedback that students are receiving. So are they receiving direct feedback on the standards and things that they're learning? And then finally, what are some of the assessment practices that we might see in some snapshots? So looking at that framework, which then led to our goal, and a very bad pointer. I'm actually just going to go down there. No, I'm good. I'm just going to walk down. Looks like my battery's gone with my pointer. So looking within the framework during this upcoming school year, which I say upcoming school year, it's November 1st. We're already 2 months in and first quarter is almost done. But we'll develop a comprehensive professional development plan focused on our collective systemic efforts around developing an instructional framework, and that serves to support. And here's the key thing, highly engaged, deep learning for all students. And really focusing in on student engagement, which is one of the core beliefs, to make sure that what we are providing for students, not only is it rigorous, is it relevant, but it's going to create that high level of engagement. And for those of you who have been following some of the building principals report outs before, one key thing that they've been working on with their staff is increasing student engagement, looking at lessons that are going to bring kids in, that are going to draw them in, and a wide range of students or a wide variety of students. So That is one of our goals for this year, and you're going to hear some common framework pieces and supports to that. The second one, which is student and staff engagement. So during this year, each school program will focus on ensuring that every student and staff member have a strong sense of belonging. And the statement we used was, I belong in this academic community. I understand the social, emotional, and academic skills needed to be a contributing member of my school and the broader community. So looking at ways that not only we can support students, but that we can support staff. And again, as you have a chance to hear through the administrators tonight and sharing some of their goals and some of the things they're working on the building, you're going to start to hear that common theme of how these two different goals start to work through the entire district. So I want to go back to one of the biggest complaints that we had, I think, from the last two strategic plans was that it was difficult to follow, to say, great, you did a strategic plan as a community, or you did a strategic plan as a school district, but how have you actually followed up? What's the progress that you've made? This is a live site, so as things change and as they get updated by building members or building administrators, then it's constantly there. So anyone in the community, this is a 5-year strategic plan starting in 21, so that we're 2 years in. Anyone who's interested in to see that progress, please go to the site. You can take a look and see exactly where we're at. So I think we're actually going to switch gears for just 1 second, go to a vote, and then we're going to hear from the building administrators.
May I have a motion, please?
I move to authorize the superintendent to request a waiver of required attendance days to the Commissioner of Education due to the unanticipated days off on October 26th and October 27th, 2023.
Second.
Public comment? Board discussion? Go ahead, Char.
I would guess that I'm not the only person that's wondering how the missed work is going to be made up for those 2 days. I don't have a problem with seeking the waiver. I'm sure there's people out there wondering, well, how is that going to get made up?
So when you request a waiver, when you request a waiver, the days aren't made up, and we would look for other ways to be able to make up the content throughout the school year. For unforeseen days such as this where we couldn't open, it doesn't fall under a normal storm day. We did not have really an option of a remote day given where we're at. Starting into the winter season, where we will have snow days and other things coming up. This is just to help the community move on and move past these days. I believe every district in Cumberland and York County will be submitting a waiver for that, but we'll look to integrate those topics and concepts and do adjustments to the schedule moving throughout the school year.
All those in favor?
Jessica Bridges?
Yes.
Jenny Butler?
Yes.
Jody Carroll?
Yes.
Caitlin Downs?
Yes.
Marge Gavoni?
Yes.
Char Jewell?
Yes.
Christina Small?
Yes. Motion carries. Okay, we're moving on to building principals and Director of Adult Ed updates and goals. So up first is Mr. Karen.
Good evening. There we go. There we go. Thanks for having me. So we're doing, I'll start from the bottom on my list, the school opening update, and then I'll talk a little bit about the goals. We've had a tremendous open to school. It's been really great feeling about the building. We really focused on setting some consistencies, trying to bring back some things pre-COVID, expectations for students, expectations for staff, given At this point in the school year, looking at the 3 years pre-COVID, our kids are taking more classes now. They are attending class more. Our attendance is up to pre-COVID levels, and that's even given some situations where some students are really having a hard time getting back to school, and they've been struggling since COVID. Even with those few special cases, our daily attendance is back where we'd like it to be. Our behavior referrals are down. We're feeling really good about how things are going at the high school. It's been really good. We've done some things. We're really pushing hard on the posting of learning targets and agendas for kids in all classrooms. We're paying special attention to that, so when kids walk in, they know what's the goal for the day, what things are going to happen. We've put a lot of emphasis on cell phone policy, and trying to keep kids engaged in their work and not engaged in other things. That's had a tremendous impact. We're going back to pre-COVID remediation policies, so it's really starting to hold that line for students, where for the last few years with kids in and out of the building, with the amount of time that kids would miss or teachers would miss, due dates got a little bit in flux, and that was a necessity. We had to meet kids where they were and meet teachers where they were, but now that we have attendance back, we're really going back to setting due dates and asking students to make arrangements in a timely manner to work with their teachers to remediate learning that they may have struggled with. That's been great. Our goals, so our first goal is in the area of rigor. We built the master schedule this year in a way that allows the departments to meet every other day in small groups, so like class groups. So all the Algebra 1 teachers can meet every other day for 30 minutes, all the geometry teachers, all the US history teachers, built into their schedule, with the idea of not looking at nuts and bolts and not looking at more traditional department meeting things, but really looking at student work, looking at student targets, and trying to share the load. Things working for me, how could it work for you? The idea that we could provide more consistency for kids, that these are the things that you can expect to see and learn in a biology class, no matter who the teacher is. We've shifted some of the more traditional department meetings into the afternoon, where we can do some of the more nuts and bolts types of things. So that's been a change. The schedule, we were able to work that into the schedule. That's been great. We're also looking, another area of focus is on feedback. So we're going to look to provide professional development in the area of feedback. So not only feedback for students in terms of the grades they're getting and they're working towards meeting standards, but also feedback for staff members. So how can we create assessments and formative assessments that allow us to not only assess the learning, but assess how we're going to, what the next steps will be in instruction. So we're going to provide some training for teachers in those areas. We're excited about that. We're also spending a lot of time focusing on our multi-tiered systems of support. So we've got a lot of different opportunities to support students. We're trying to kind of rein them in, and this year a goal is to find the holes, where kids may be falling in between the cracks, and how do we support students. So some simple things, we're doing some advisory lessons for all students, like this is how you write an email, this is how you use the CC button, some things that can be helpful to students that we maybe weren't thinking about and weren't getting placed into any real curriculum. We've got our Pride block every morning. We've got 950 kids, we average about 200 students tagged a day to get extra support for that first half an hour in the morning, where they can meet with teachers to work on improving things. The added bonus is we don't start our instructional day until 8 o'clock instead of at 7:25. I think that's a bonus for our staff and our students. We have Eagle Block. Thank you very much for supporting the Eagle Block position. This year, Vanessa and Megan, the Director of Guidance, have been just wonderful in the scheduling. So we have not only the Eagle Block teacher, but we have math teachers and social studies teachers, English teachers in Eagle Block with the full-time teacher to support in the content areas. So we're assigning students in and out. We are moving toward kind of my bigger goal of that not being a credit recovery, but that being a real-time. I'm struggling with this unit. I go in, I get some support in that unit. I go back to my regular workshop. We are piloting a freshman team. So it's no surprise since I've been here. I've been talking about freshman teaming. The last 2 schools I was administrator in, we had freshman teams. I think it's a great tool, a great transition for students. It was something that the staff here wasn't really sold on. So this year we have 1/3 of the freshman class on a team. Those team members get to meet, discuss students, progress, try to find those tier 1 interventions where they can work as a group to address things that are coming up before they get to the report cards and those things. It's for just a quarter of the way into the year. It's been very successful, and I'll probably be speaking with you all more about expanding teaming to all of the freshman class next year. We have a multitude of alternative programs. We've kind of put them together with Adrian Sheetenhelm as the department chair, and we've been able to provide that group of individuals. So Eagle Block teacher, JMG teacher, Apex teachers, that common time that we did the other departments, so that we're not overdoing supports or stepping on each other's toes. That's great. And then of course the great resources that JMG provides us, not only with the classroom portion, but the school completion specialist, it's a position that can work with students from ages 16 to 26 on finishing school, if finishing high school in a traditional manner isn't the path, finding the next path, finding employment. It's just a wonderful position. We're so lucky to have it. Other things that we're doing, we're looking at, so Adrian and John Ziegler, with help from Christine, have been looking at formalizing integration of credits, core credits, through work in the vocational schools. That'll open up opportunities for kids to take more classes that they're interested in taking, that they have a passion for at the high school, because some of their core credits can be met through their work in their vocational programs. That's super exciting. And we continue to expand our ELO program and our internship program. So it's now taking, this year's goals in those areas are taking the good things we're doing and trying to streamline them, get better at communicating them out to families so they know the opportunities that we have.
Any questions for Mr. Carey? I love the Alternative Pathways Department. You had sent me a note about that. I just wanted to just highlight that because you skipped over it really, really quickly. One of the things that especially you've talked about is vocational, options for students, and the idea of having multiple programs coming under an Alternative Pathways Department at the high school, I think is just terrific. Just speaks to the work that you've been doing, and it's not just to get kids graduating that aren't going to make it otherwise. I mean, there's a piece of that, but it really speaks to the work that you're doing intelligently and diligently to get that in the high school. I know I had asked this, but it's new, but I'd love to see more advertising on that, just on the website, just more information. I mean, the ELO piece and just that, we have school choice in our district, and the work that you're doing there, I think, just offers students a terrific opportunity and could be something that our students would want to know more about if they're not already there. So thanks for that. The other thing, I don't know if you know, but I was trying to catch myself up on graduation rates, just thinking about alternative pathways to learning. The DOE only has 22 data, 21, 22. Do you know last year's data by any chance?
I don't have it. I wouldn't want to guess, but I can get it for you.
That's fine. I just noticed that Wyndham High School is 5 points above the state average.
We do very well.
Do well, and it clearly related to these efforts, and I'm sure it's going to continue to increase. So I just wanted to really highlight that and say thank you. When I was looking at your list of multi-tiered systems of support, the BAR program stuck out to me because I wasn't familiar with it. So is that new to Wyndham High School? And could you give like a 30-second explanation?
I can give, so the BAR program is building assets, reducing risks. It's a system that is used with the freshman teaming. So instead of the teams getting together and talking about kids, it sets a pathway of the things that we do when we meet. So we make sure that we're identifying level 1 kids, which are kids that are thriving, and make sure that we contact them and their parents to let them know we're proud of them, and we decide to determine if they need extra support. And then level 2 kids, what can this team do together as a team that works with these students to support them? And then level 3 would bring in the bigger group to see to those things. So it's a system that we're using with the teams to provide some structure for that.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Okay, up next is Mr. Haynes.
Hello, school board members. Thanks for having me in this evening. Happy to be here to report out on Katahdin and some of our goals. To start out, I just want to make some kind of big picture comments, kind of to echo Mr. Karen's comments about the start of the school year. It's been an outstanding start. This is my 5th year as director at Katahdin. Are we using this now?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, this one works. Can you hear me? All right, great. So my 5th year, this is by far the best start of the 5 years that I've been at Katahdin. It's hard to kind of determine causality there, like why? Why is this such a good year? But it seems to me that 5 years of building and refining the culture amongst the staff is beginning to bear some fruit. And also, I think kids missed school during COVID, and there was a renewed appreciation amongst the students of being in school, and the consistency and the relationships and the predictability and all the things that come with being in school is starting to feel like a habit again. And that's, I think, feels good and has contributed to a really positive student and staff culture this year. Another thing I wanted to mention is just to throw out some real support behind the district's strategic plan. As an administrator, it's really nice to have a roadmap to really drill down into the core beliefs of the district, what the district and all of the stakeholders have determined are the most important things to focus on in a student's education, and it helps us with our focus, and it helps the school rally behind some really, really important things that, to be frank, the school already believed before the strategic plan was implemented, but it reinforces many of the things that we believed were very important and have been working on refining over the years. So it's just really nice to have that. So a couple of things that I'd like to highlight with respect to student engagement. So people know that Katahdin engages this year 23, where we're over-enrolled by 1 student, which we're happy about, which we were able to do for a variety of reasons that I won't get into right now. But traditionally, these are the kids that fell through the cracks, that weren't very engaged in school for a variety of reasons. No two Katahdin students are similar. They're all different, and they all bring their own package of challenges and opportunities to us every day. But engagement wasn't a hallmark of the kids as they came to us. And so we recognized right away that in order for them to learn, they need to feel respected, and they need to feel safe, and they need to feel comfortable in school. Then we have to find out whatever their superpower is, because all of these kids have some kind of a superpower. So we use a relational approach to really get to know them, figure out what they're all about, what their superpower is, and then try and amplify that. So we build relevance into our curriculum based on what we know about each unique learner, their interest, and yes, their superpower. Using Flex Fridays to implement service learning projects that place students in the role of active problem solvers that are addressing real problems and projects in the larger community. And using the gradual release of responsibility model, Katahdin students learn to take more ownership for their learning, producing products that illustrate their understanding of key concepts in each project and every class. So that often looks like project-based learning. It looks like using direct instruction, followed by modeling the direct instruction, followed by group work, pairing exercises, small group work, and ultimately kids either working in teams or working independently to create a product that they can articulate how that product in some way is meeting the goal that was set out by the teacher. So it's handing the learning to them where they take more and more responsibility. Is this a seamless process? No. Is it easy? No. But it's really, really important, and we strive to make it real for them, to base it on their interests, and also to have them own the learning. And you see it when it happens. It doesn't happen in every lesson every day, but you know when the students are truly invested, and it's not just ticking the box. It's I'm really interested in this, and let me tell you what I learned. So we're constantly asking students, please, tell me about this. Like, what did you learn? What were the challenges? What made it interesting to you? What didn't make it interesting to you? How could we do it differently next time? So we have these conversations with the kids so that we can get better at what we do from an instructional point of view. In terms of the sense of belonging, that is primary. Many of our students, frankly, didn't feel a strong sense of belonging and haven't for years. It's not just they didn't feel a sense of belonging in the high school. They may not have experienced a sense of belonging since a traumatic event happened to them when they were in the 5th grade or something of that nature. So, and many times it's many, many years of not feeling a sense of belonging and or engagement in school, and it's often based on something outside of school. Sometimes it's something that happened in school, but often it's something that happened within the family context or something of that nature. So we have to drill down into that and figure out what the blockage is, and then help them to reinvent their relationship to school. With some kids, that's pretty easy because they just need to feel like, wow, the staff is super friendly here. I can be myself. But sometimes that's a multi-year process to kind of peel away those layers and get to a place where you know that the kid really believes that they belong and that they can be a student and that they can be successful. So we have to do lots of different things to make that happen. One example is we host individual family orientations for every family at the start of the school year. That meeting has several purposes. One is just to outline how we're different from the regular school, to have them sign standing permission slips so that we can go out in real time and have adventures in the community, and we don't have to get bogged down with permission slips every time that we go out into the community. And it's also so that we can learn from the parent perspective. Tell us about your kid. Tell us about what they're great at. Tell us about what they've struggled in. And from the student themselves to speak for themselves about what they're looking forward to and what their aspirations are in a new, much smaller, more individualized environment. We invite families to meals that are prepared by students and staff several times a year, which builds community. We're in constant communication with families concerning the challenges and triumphs of their student throughout the school year. Yes, we share our cell phone numbers with families and with students so that we can communicate with them in a way that they'll actually get it and we can be in touch. We emphasize our commitment to equity so that diverse learners and their families know that all students will be seen, heard, and respected. We cultivate an atmosphere of relentless positivity where we highlight student strengths and work tirelessly supporting students who are working to become the best version of themselves. We understand that the nature of the work is collaborative, multifaceted, often quite intense. Sometimes the work requires more of us than any one individual can give. To address this, we work together to create a community of adults that shares the work of meeting students' needs. Together, we bring assets and energy to students as they work to find their unique pathway through high school. So it's a super dynamic place. I'm really thrilled to work in the Katahdin program. Some of the colleagues that I work with, I've been working with for 20 years. When we started back in 2004 at the real school, and so that's coming back here 5 years ago. I was away working at another school and then as a consultant for a period of time, so coming back has been kind of a homecoming to work with some folks that I really care about from many, many years ago, and yet it's new because education is constantly changing and evolving, and so it's brought us to a place of continuing to grow together, which has been super gratifying. And our attendance this year, better than ever, and that is a huge metric in the world of alternative learning. When the kids are showing up, it means they're invested, they want to be there. So I think our attendance is as good as it's ever been. So that's a great thing. It's challenging when you have a van driver who's been out. So the staff has taken turns doing van runs and doing whatever it takes to get the kids to school. Why? Because we used to have 3 van drivers, we're down to 2, and one's been out, so we're all kind of sharing the load, getting the kids to school, and we're making it work. So that's a snapshot. We're off to a great start. Happy to answer any questions if anybody has any questions. Yes.
So it was great to hear this Flex Fridays doing project-based learning that is directly involved with the community. One of the things that I've learned this year, being the parent of a brand new VOC student this year, is that the ability for students to see what they're learning and how it applies to their quote-unquote real world, rather than just sitting and staring at a textbook saying, I'm never going to use this.
Right.
So I really appreciate that that's a renewed focus for your group. I mean, you know I'm a fan anyway. Yeah. So it really came to light for me, so it's great to see it in the plan, because it's been a positive change in my household this year. Good. To have some learning that's actually tied to how am I going to make a paycheck someday,
right?
And how am I going to be a better member of my community? So I appreciate that. Right. Thank you.
Just a couple of comments. I love the service learning projects. Thank you for speaking about them a little bit more, because I was going to ask. Also, I love your use of relentless positivity. That was not 2 words I would normally put next to each other. And, you know, you have spoke over the years about how building the community, your small community of learners is so important in what you do, and how that helps, or it's just such an integral part of the learning. But I love in the school opening update, you listed all the community partners as well that you brought in. So not only have you created a community in the school, but you're also helping connect those students outside of our community. And I just think that's wonderful. So that's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks so much.
All right, up next, Michelle Brown.
Don't laugh. Can you hear me okay? All right, I'm going to follow Ryan and Craig's lead and start with the school opening. We are off to a fabulous start. We have an amazing vibe in the building. We started off at the start of school, before school started, with open house. It was really well attended. We had an ice cream social that was a part of it. It was really nice to connect with not only the students to hear what they were doing over the summer, but to hang out with some parents and connect with them as well. In addition to that, we rolled out with the advisory and win period, and that has had an extremely successful start. We're making some adjustments as we go just to make it better, but the feedback from the staff has been it's really good for kids, which I think is very important. We've had our parent-teacher conferences. They were well attended. They were student-led conferences through advisories. We were trying that to see how it went, and it was very well attended. We are going to look to get some feedback to see how both parents and teachers felt about that. And we also have lots of clubs and activities that are rolling out or starting. We had the garden club that has been meeting weekly. They've been picking things in the garden, bringing it in. They even had an opportunity where Jeannie and Chef Ryan with our 5th graders made carrot muffins and carrot soup. Chris even got to hold a 3-pound carrot that was grown in the garden. But in addition to that, we have Theater Academy. We had successful sports teams of soccer and cross country. So the feeling in the building is great. We have a great rollout to the year so far. In regard to the first district goal around the instructional framework and student engagement, Jordan Small has had the creation of grade level PLCs to look at ways to support and advance student learning through looking at the best instructional practices. We've been looking at data, iReady data, NWA data, and our teachers have really embraced, like, how can I, use that data in my instruction in the classroom, specifically around things like nonfiction, and using strategies to help students really engage in their learning. We've had the creation of the WIN block, which means what I need, and this provides students with what they need through specific and targeted interventions. It also provides extra help to individuals that need it. And it also provides enrichment opportunities that they wouldn't otherwise have. We have writing club, sign language, Legos, STEM opportunities, and then also physical activity opportunities as well. One of the things that has been extremely successful as well, every week we have academic advisory in which our advisors work with their advisees. They have one-on-one check-ins in which they look at Infinite Campus, they look at their Google Classrooms, their emails, and really help students identify if they're missing assignments, what are some of the assignments they have coming up, and it really provides that executive functioning for all students. All right, and then we're going to provide professional development specifically around the instructional framework to make sure teachers and staff understand what it means and how to really implement that effectively. And lastly, around that first goal is that whole idea of ongoing work with content and working with content and making sure it's aligned with the district content, curriculum content. Around the second goal of that sense of belonging, we've done a lot. We have the creation of advisories. We've also created committees, specifically 3 committees. The first one is a culture and climate committee. This is where teachers and staff plan activities and events to build that positive school culture and community. Some of those examples are field day, pep rallies, spirit weeks. They provide opportunities to build community involvement, so there'll be an art festival in the spring, community service opportunities, food drives. We also have the WIN Advisory Committee, and they are the ones that plan the specific advisories each week, as well as the WIN opportunities that students have. And then we also have the Equity Response Team, which has been ongoing in the district for quite some time. So that's all that we're doing at Jordan Small. We're ambitious, but we're hopeful that we are successful. Any questions?
So it sounds like you're doing a lot of great things at Jordan Small, so thank you for that. Hopefully it's all things that can be rolled into the new school when we have one someday.
I hope so.
I do have a question about the last point on goal 1 about working between Wyndham Middle and Jordan Small to start a process to align curriculums.
Yep.
Can you just expound on that a little bit? Because I have to say it surprised me a little that the schools aren't, or at least based on my interpretation of what you said, that they're not aligned already. So can you just expound on that, please?
So there's district level committees with ELA and social studies because there's been some changes in the standards there. So we're working to align through that. With the addition of new administration at Wyndham Middle, we've been working together just to ensure that our content areas, we are having at Jordan Small monthly content meetings so that they're, looking at their content, documenting it. And then also we're planning to meet with counterparts at Wyndham Middle just to kind of start planning as we get closer to the opening of the new school, that we're all on the same page.
I was going to ask that too, so thanks for asking that. So this might be a little too granular, but hope you'll indulge me just for a second. The WIN block, so I've got a student that started at Jordan Small that was with Mrs. Peavy at Raymond Elementary and did very well over there. But coming into Jordan Small Middle School, because he's more intrigued with engagement versus the environment at the elementary level, even though he struggles going to school some days, he's excited to do the work that you're doing there. And I think that really speaks to, we talk a lot about project-based learning. Without being an educator, honestly, I'm not sure I know what I do at home, right? You play with your kids and they're small and stuff and do all that, but to see it in my own space where he's excited. You talked about the soup. We made soup today and it was actually good. We ate it, that kind of thing. You went out to the Institute.
Oh yeah, the GMMG, the GMR,
GMRI
yes.
Institute, straight out of the gate. I was surprised that, that was happening early in the year. Just a terrific hands-on experience for the students. We got a permission form. It was kind of like, yeah, we're just doing this, versus to me, that could be like a year-end trip. This was just part of the programming with that coach and a full day of that hands-on interactive work with that institute. And what I'm trying to say is that, I'll just say lastly, is that advisory win piece. So my guy had the flu the week before. He was out for, as you know, 6 days. That advisory and win structure that you set up gave him the ability to catch up. And then I got the link for Google Classroom home as the adults, and then I was able to check with him, and then he was able to figure out, how am I going to catch up? Because that's certainly something that students, I think, need to learn as early as possible. If they miss school, they're going to have work. And so from my perspective, I'm providing that testimonial, at least for us. And for him, he was more worried about being behind and missing the NWEA testing than he was about being, anyway. So I think that's terrific. That hands-on piece, the work that they're doing in science. Of course, the curriculum's different. Sorry, Mrs. Peavy, it's not that your school's not as good. But just that the difference in the offerings and the idea and advisory that if they don't need to catch up, or they're not in a space where you're doing something program-wise, that they can choose Legos or something else, is another opportunity for enrichment during the school day, which I would just share as a really terrific setup. So you're doing a lot, but from my side, it's very engaging for the student that at least lives in my house, so thanks.
I was also going to mention the win time, just because I know it's in at least 2 other buildings in our district, so it was nice to see some continuation there. And just a quick question about your clubs and activities. Are those built into your schedule, or is that after school?
The ones that I mentioned are after school.
Okay. That was all. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, up next is Mr. Applestein.
Good evening. No worries. Like my counterparts, I will jump right to the opening of school. So I'm switching up my document a little as well. We started with an ice cream social. AJ, Ruth, and myself, being new administrators to the building, felt compelled to have some sort of activity where we were able to meet some kids and parents, and we thought that went really quite well. Item 2 on this list, in addition to those 3 PD days that we all had at the beginning of the year, we also had to launch 3 major initiatives with a brand new master schedule, advisory block, and common planning time, which happens opposite of the advisory block, and of course the continuation of project-based learning. And we had lots of good discussions about those different things in the course of those opening days, and we had a good launch with all of that. We had our open house on that Monday night, the last day of PD. That was extremely well attended based on previous attendance. As it was explained to me, we had a really good turnout. We hosted grade level assemblies to start the year, and again, in working with other administrators in the district, we knew the high school was moving in the direction of cell phones are away for the day. That's the phrase we use at the middle school. And we knew that we had some hall wanderers from the last couple of years that we needed to address. And so the new master schedule actually is staggered such that kids are moving through the hallways at different times, not all at the same time. That has made a tremendous difference from what I understand. And we do have a running list of cell phone infractions, and it's not nearly as long comparatively in years past from what I've been told. So we feel really, really good about those 2 things as well. The first 3 weeks, we did address all of the challenges associated with the brand new schedule, with the brand new advisory, with the common planning time. And so we did a lot of work with our guidance department on that. AJ and I did, and I have to give them a big shout out for sharing with us what they were thinking when the schedule was built. And again, AJ was a little more a part of that. I certainly was not. So everyone's been fantastic about updating me on the development of that and what we had to do to make some adjustments early on in those first couple weeks so that kids could get the programming they needed. We were out and about in the hallways as much as we could be when we weren't in those meetings talking about how we can make the schedule better. We did several walkthrough observations, all of us as an administrative team. That gave me an opportunity to take a look at the instructional framework to really see how the rubber meets the road with all of that work that I'll get to in a second. Our sports teams really had a great fall season. We had a couple undefeated teams, lots of big wins, and I believe girls soccer 3 years running, is that correct? We're undefeated for all 3 years at the middle school. So big shout out to the girls soccer teams for accomplishing that. And I did include information about our food drive. Obviously, I created this document before last week's tragedy. So the updated schedule going forward is that the week of the 13th through the 17th, we'll have a food drive, and we're dovetailing that with a Spirit Week. 2 questions kids ask me everywhere I went. When's our first dance? When are we doing a Spirit Week? And I said, as soon as we can. So we had to defer, obviously, and put that off. And then we have a brand new guitar club, which I'm super excited about. And they will be building 2 guitars. And so as a fundraiser for the guitar club, we're having a dodgeball tournament Friday the 17th after school. And we should be able to raise some funds to support that work. And lastly, we met with George Conant yesterday, and we had a really good conversation with our leadership team. He will be with us on the early release day for the restorative practices work that, as I understand, everyone else in the district has experienced except Wyndham Middle. So we're happy to be a part of that as well. So in thinking about, obviously, goal number 1 and the alignment with the instructional framework and student engagement, again, listening to my colleagues, I learned so much from listening to other people doing great things in other schools. I was thinking about how within that framework, you know, we have whole class opportunities for kids, small group or paired opportunities, and then when we really drill down into it, giving kids that opportunity for individualized learning experiences and helping them to develop that autonomy while also increasing the rigor and increasing the independent work. And I think when we're doing those things, that really illustrates how this instructional framework kind of comes off the page and into the classroom. So, with that in mind, we are meeting as an administrative team next week. We'll be talking about the instructional framework. All of the principals and assistant principals of the buildings will then in turn host some sort of session where we'll do that at a staff meeting where we review the instructional framework, but we also want to start to drill down a little deeper into it. And so we'll be doing that work as a kickoff later in this month, and we will continue to do a series of those walkthrough observations with the tool and begin to share some of that baseline data with people and begin to have conversations throughout December, January about what does this look like, what does it look like in a classroom, et cetera. I think teachers learn best when they learn from each other, and so we want to identify teachers who are utilizing that instructional framework as role models and examples, and we have some plans at this point, nothing concrete, just some things AJ and I have talked about for the early releases in February or March, whereby teachers can teach teachers. And we did that on our most recent PD day, and people really enjoyed that. And so we want to continue with that model as we implement the instructional framework. I would love to schedule peer observations. It's something I've always wanted to see happen in any school I've been in. It's kind of like everybody agrees to it, but we can never get to it. And so if we're at a place where we're able to swap people in and out as far as coverage so that teachers can watch other teachers teaching, I think that can really reap some really good benefits for the framework as well. And then lastly, incorporating references to and the look-fors of the instructional framework in our formal observations, because at some point the instructional framework and our observation work and our evaluation work, I believe, needs to come together. And I think that's where that will begin to happen as we progress through the year. And then as far as the second goal is concerned, many of you are aware of the idea that at Wyndham Middle we have 4 core beliefs, 4 values, 4 words, really. Empathy, compassion, respect, and responsibility. And there isn't a conversation that either AJ or myself, we don't have, that we don't work into that conversation, those 4 ideas. And we have teachers doing the same thing. I really truly believe that's what helps kids develop a deeper sense of belonging. When we're talking about the successes and celebrating their successes, but also talking about some of their challenges and their issues, and providing them some skills to help them work through them. And so ultimately, we have plans to meet with our leadership team to review the climate surveys. We did a little of that work on the administrative team. I'm curious to take a deeper look at that, to see the feedback from students and families and staff from last year's surveys. Again, that's November, December-ish, if you're thinking about, you know, when is this guy going to do all this work? And then create a master list of ways in which Wyndham Middle tries to help all students. Again, I think it's important that we take stock. Sometimes we get so far deep into the work that we don't take a moment to stop and look and see the stuff that we've done. And I think having the opportunity to do this right here, I think, is part of that. And I'm happy that you asked us to present. We'll continue to work with the leadership team at the middle school to create opportunities for stakeholder groups to feel more a part of, to feel that connection, to feel that belonging. It's right out of all of the Maslow work. We're very familiar with that. We know that students succeed when they have those great relationships developed with people. And I do believe that that can carry over into the family structure as well. And so we'll be looking for ways to engage parents and other stakeholders in the community. We want to continue to work with the leadership team and guidance for additional opportunities for those groups to feel more connected. And then ultimately in June, we would like to survey folks to see if we accomplished any of that, to see if we have made people feel a sense of belonging as a result of our work. And then we would report out on any of that data if there's time in June or when we get back in August. And that's my report.
Any questions? Go ahead, Char.
So welcome to RSU 14.
Thank you.
One of the things that caught my attention was scheduling peer observations, which I think is a great idea. And then thinking about Michelle's goal to work with you on making sure the curriculums are more in line over the next few years, assuming we're getting a new school. Just put the thought out there, if there was an opportunity to have staff do observations between the schools, not just in their own school, that might be valuable as well. So thank you.
Yes, thank you for that.
It was nice to see that you were going to take a look at that climate survey data. We all got a chance to take a look at it district-wide, and it was a lot.
Yes.
I think we were all a bit overwhelmed. Obviously, you're going to be looking at your building section, so it's nice to hope that you can get something actionable out of that. And my only other question is, will you be playing dodgeball?
I've been asked by one student, and I said, come see me Friday. I'll let you know whether I'm in a position to play or not. I have a sneaky feeling that I will wind up on somebody's team. Yes.
Great to hear.
Yes, absolutely.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Oh, geez. All right, next up, Ms. Danini.
Thank you.
I want to say that it was a bit of a surprise to us this year to not at first be able to get into the building like we usually do because of the water treatment project and the internal HVAC work. So, and that seems like it was so long ago at this point, but it was a bit of a concern because the facility looked like not even the same place that we left in June. So that was a worry for us and staff, but I think, I know that the staff really appreciated the time they were given in the first, before students came, those days to do everything they needed to do to make sure they were ready to welcome the students and feel prepared. So that actually went surprisingly well. And man, did we, I don't know how many times people said that having the fresh air and some degree of air conditioning that was available in those opening days was a game changer. The level of exhaustion that teachers felt on that open house night that is always incredibly well attended, but the longest day of your life kind of because it's really hot. It was a whole different experience. So the changes and the adaptations we've had to make to accommodate those projects so far have been minimally disruptive, and I think will be worth it. So I do props to all the facilities work and the building work. And I just want to take one little side step off my plan to just say that I want to personally and professionally thank and recognize Kate Bricks for all her years of guidance in the facilities work. To have someone in the lead who you know works as hard as you do, and maybe harder sometimes, who does her homework, asks the hard questions, is always prepared and ethical and follows process and procedure, has been a real gift. So just connecting that to the facilities work, but way beyond that as well. For all the years I've been here, she's been a part of this community, which is awesome. But going back, our school population has grown this year. We added another teacher, so we have about 400 students, and keeping class size manageable at around 20-ish has been really important and appreciated. The student population is more diverse in terms of where they are at academically and emotionally and behaviorally, communication-wise. In so many ways, the people who study these things have said that the current 4th and 5th grade age kids can be seen as the most impacted through the pandemic challenges, and here they are all with us. So we want to be able to enrich students who are ready for that, and then support students who aren't. That is a challenge and an opportunity. We have excellent community support, and we have had excellent attendance, like I said, at open house. We've had family engagement. Craft night was our first one, super well attended. We had so many supplies and we ran out of almost everything. So now we know for next time that we will we'll plan for more people. We have great PTA support, and anything we ask for, we feel like we have our needs met. So that helps us to meet the needs of the students. A challenge has been in terms of hiring initially. We were starting out with some some positions in special education. We did bring on some people and are getting them up to speed, and not a moment too soon. We're very fortunate to have filled some of those vacancies. Sweetser is not with us after maybe 10 or more years of having Sweetser in the building to provide services for students who need counseling. They are having staffing issues of their own, so they're not with us this year. So that puts more of that responsibility on our own school counselor and our social worker. Critical work, and just to say thank you to them and all the work of the teachers to make sure that every student does feel the sense of belonging. We really worked hard to start from the basic foundation, as Greg mentioned, with like Maslow and belonging and safety. That has always been how we start the year. We had training with our Wyndham Police resource officers for all staff, and practice as we're supposed to. And I think we really see that
pay off in weeks like this week, because what we noticed in so many ways, the students came right out and told us they were so glad to be back to school. They did not look at it like a snow day, like I get to have fun. They knew something was going on to some degree. Different kids knew different amounts, but they were so happy to be back in their community. The teachers did a really excellent job. Again, just-in-time PD. We also worked with George Conan in the spring a day and during one of our opening days this year to teach all of us how to be more, not just restorative in terms, you think of it as restorative discipline is how that genre of PD began. But we didn't want to just talk about discipline, we wanted to talk about belongingness and culture and community. So the work he's done with us is to help us facilitate through skills and practices of circles, and he modeled that with us, how to build community. And boy, did we see the benefits of that this week. So that was wonderful in time PD. We also have the support of our coaches. We've been connecting with our math and literacy coach to provide, looking at our data, which we've been doing every week for 4 weeks, iReady data, and soon it will be NWA data, looking at what we need to do to help kids wherever they're at to make, adequate or better progress. And our coaches help us with that. But going back to the survey data, we did, again, it was a lot of data. The end of year last year survey data, we started looking at that with our Great Schools Partnership coach that we're fortunate to have, because we got a little extra money because we were on an action plan that started in 2019. And while that is not a badge of honor, we certainly benefit from the ongoing PD that has provided to us over the years. So our Great Schools Partnership coach has helped us to dig into that data, and we found the piece of data that seemed to would be a good jumping off point for us, for our leadership team, and my teacher partner here, who's a mentor in administration, Leah Richards, and our leadership team helped plan based on that data how we would use our PD day. And it focused on the students' feedback to teachers about how they felt, how much they felt they belonged in school, and how much their teachers knew them as individuals. So then we did work around that, really positive, and also built in the opportunity for us to get to know each other better at a deeper level, because we do have quite a bit of veteran staff, and we also have quite a bit of new staff, and we want the sense of belonging to mean everybody, every parent that walks in the door from whatever background and experience, every student and every staff member that comes through the door. So that's some of the work we've been doing that's made it a really strong start to the year. Just to highlight, obviously you've heard the district goals through every presentation. Our work in the instructional framework is building on what you heard last year about. We were in the position to start working on teacher clarity, which is the highly research efficacy to build student achievement. We started working on that during the pandemic with the support of our coach. That was a great point to get leverage to connect with the framework. So we had a little head start there in terms of our teachers being really clear about what is the learning target, so that students could be really clear about that. So we actually, during our PD day, which was, again, models put together within our own internal staff to show each other, how are they being clear, what's the learning target, how will students know that they're successful today, those incremental steps to get to the big learning target. That was wonderful PD with lots of good feedback from peers, because it was real. It's not an external expert coming and telling us, it's the person across the hallway that you don't always have time to see their work. So that was really well done, and we're going to keep building on that work. Again, connecting our PBL work, the project-based learning and engagement. Our engagement in those projects has been high. What we noticed over time is that sometimes the rigor wasn't as high. They were wicked fun, but what was the level of learning? So we're bringing those things together through the framework. So it's engaging, but it's also meeting the rigorous level of the standards at whatever developmentally appropriate place the student starts. Not everybody starts at the same place, but rigorous for them and keep moving forward. And then the sense of belonging, I think I already addressed that goal in how I talked about the opening of school. But really for us, that's always goal one. And the research is really strong that if you want your attendance to be strong, if you want your engagement to be high, and if you want the achievement to be there, then the sense of belonging and the sense of safety is essential. And I think we did a really good job of that as we showed this week. Thanks.
Any questions? Go ahead.
Thank you. I do have a question. For goal number 2, one of the bulleted items is microaggressions conversations with staff. Can you expound on that, please?
Yes. Microaggressions is an old term from like the 70s, and basically what it means is just often an unintentional, sometimes intentional, but more often unintentional or an even unknown way of addressing or referring to or behaving towards a group that is typically marginalized. Last year, when we created our equity response team, some of the work that we noticed was that students were sometimes making comments to each other that were offensive or marginalizing, but they didn't even know. They truly didn't know. They're 9 or 10. So we started noticing a pattern of that, so we brought some of those examples to the staff and had discussions about that. We did some videos as an example that is not a student example, but like a personal example. Microaggressions are not those big, obvious, like harassing behavior, or it's not inequity in capital I, but it can be like a lot of little paper cuts that can be hurtful. But if you're not aware of it, then it's hard to address it. So an example is when I was a special ed teacher, it was my first year here, so 27 years ago. I remember when it was testing time, the homeroom teacher said to me, well, she's not testing with me. She's your student, because she had a disability, so she's your student. I never forgot that, because the student heard that. Now, do I know if the student felt that the way I did? But tiny little misuse of words, unintentional for sure, can build up over time. And I'm not a marginalized, person myself, but you can imagine the impact of that. So that was just the awareness building as an example.
Anyone else? I was just going to comment that I was at your arts and craft night. My daughter had a wonderful time. I would guess, I don't have any data to support this, but just anecdotally being in the community, talking with other families that have kids my same age, because those grades were so impacted by COVID, I think that makes them want to be in school and to be engaged in those things. My daughter knows how much she missed. So if you send out a notice in Parent Square, I missed it, I apologize. She told me when she got off the bus that day that it was that night and she wanted to go. When I said we couldn't because we had plans, she cried and I canceled them. So if you have one planned, like coming up, let me know now.
I know we have another one. We don't have the date picked, but we do want to do a holiday-ish kind of craft night. And we do message it in Parent Square. We will, like, at least 2 weeks.
Okay.
Sorry if you missed it.
No, that was my fault. But just, I saw that connection there. I don't know if that's based in data anywhere, but yes, I think your fourth graders especially are really engaged.
We heard that from other parents, like, oh, I had a practice, we're so busy, I wasn't planning on coming to this, but my daughter or son was like, we gotta go.
But it was wonderful. Thank you. That's all. Okay, next up is Ms. Peavy.
All right, well, I will say that every year I say the year gets better when we start the year, but I think this is probably the smoothest year. Kind of felt like pre-COVID. Staff really came in a different place, ready to take on what we had built upon last year, and just have really, whatever I bring before them to take on as a challenge, they are taking it and moving forward with it. So it's really nice. And also, I just can feel that they're in a different place because their conversations are really productive, positive, and supportive of each other. So that's, how our beginning of the year started. We always start at the beginning of the year. I kind of stole it from Dr. Rhodes, having popsicles with the principals so that families can come and visit before school starts. Pre-K and K teachers always have open house before the first day of school. It's also an information time for parents, so that helps with the transition to the school. They get to see the classroom, ask questions, fill out paperwork. We also started our in-service days. We had collaborated with Danielle as far as bringing George Conan in for restorative practices, and as she mentioned, it's really about starting the year in a positive way for students to have a way to have voice in the classroom. And so if you can do those practices in the morning, which in the past we called them morning meetings, but there's a structure to it. And so at any time you can circle up if there's issues in the classroom, and kids will have that opportunity to voice what the concerns may be, but part of it is that problem solving and working as a community. And I will say, just like Danielle said, coming back on Monday, going into classrooms, and they use a talking piece, which is a ball, seeing teachers use that and listening to students talk about whatever they were feeling and honoring their feelings and ensuring that we are providing the safety, and the students could talk about what protocols we have in place that make them feel safe at school. Who are the safe people in the building that are there for them? And so that was really important. I think it was really a smooth return, and we did have more of low-level activities so that students are, their brains were more engaged in the activities. We had reading buddies. We had classes team up with each other to provide support if they needed to take a break. So it was one of the calmest days that we had. And I will say, in the past 2 days, we have had numerous absences, which always is every day, but we've had every slot filled with substitutes. So that's also a plus, noticing an uptick and having substitutes coming into the building. One of the positives we've had this beginning of the year, one is Sweetser. We don't have anyone that's supporting us through Sweetser for social work. And that's an ongoing concern. We've had Sweetser, we've had Spurwink, we've had not Tri-County, but another agency. This is my 7th year, and every year we go through a new social worker through these agencies, if not 2 to 3. I've had a year where I've had 3 different people. And these are our students that need to have people they trust, and that's really difficult when it's new people. But on the flip side of that, we have a full-time social worker now between JSMS and RES that really added an extra half day if we look at that as far as how we realigned our social workers, our regular ed social worker and special ed social worker. But just having that person between our 2 buildings, if there's a concern happening in one building, she's able to come over and support. Being able to be in contact with her every day to update her on what's going on with students is a game changer in the building. We are having meetings with parents. We are making plans for students that are effective. We're seeing a change for these students. So I will still say that we have students that are in need that were part of the Sweetser caseload that have not been picked up because our new social worker is booked, and she's not just meeting with students. She is contacting parents. She is meeting with us, and at my school she's also part of the attendance team, which is part of our sense of belonging. We're really focusing on the attendance now because I can work with the social worker and the counselor because they're there. Some of the other activities on the first days of school, pre-K teachers went to CASA to observe and collaborate with our outside providers for pre-K, and they are excited to start looking at outdoor classroom instruction, so taking the pre-K for me and incorporating that, so we're doing more collaboration that way. We do have Child's World also in Wyndham that has our pre-K students. So we're servicing 17, I think, extra students besides the 32. Pre-K and special ed, oh, we added pre-K special ed program. So that's exciting too. A lot has transpired over the summer. And one of the nice aspects of that programming, or just within my building with the special ed programs, resource, self-contained, pre-K special ed program, is the teachers this year are working on sharing the students. They're not just a resource kiddo or a special ed, it's based on the other students and where they are socially and academically, and pairing them up and supporting them and using their staff. So within the classrooms, you might have a self-contained ed tech with a student for support and resource. So we're really trying to, part of that is because of staffing, but also to be creative and to what's our best bang for supporting our students. And we're doing that with pre-K, so we're bridging pre-K and K together for students as well, based on who their best peer models are, so they're not always one-on-one, but engaging with other peers. As far as instructional framework, as everyone has mentioned, it's really, for me, I met with the coaches at the end of the school year and planned our PD for the year that would align with, you know, our math and our literacy, but when they're providing that PD, they're also demonstrating what it looks like in a lesson to have your learning target, your core instruction, discourse, having them discuss and have, you know, work together, and then what is that outcome. And so even when I do PD, there's what's that success criteria at the end, what do we want them to know? And so for my staff right now, they received a lot of information last year, but we're really working on what are the goals for your students. Sometimes we get a little stuck on, do we need to post them? I don't need them posted, I need students to know what they are. So if I go to a student and ask, what are you learning today? They can say what they're learning. They need to be able to own it, and they need to be able to show it. And so that's the work we're doing right now, is how do we do that so it's just not a mention at the beginning of a lesson, but it's embedded within the lesson and throughout the lesson, and what's that exit? How do you know where they are at the end of a lesson so that you can adjust your instruction? So I do that with staff as well to just get a sense of where they are when PD is being provided. One of my personal goals is to give them feedback, because I'm asking them to do that with kids. I need to do that with them on this process as well. And that's also including our walkthroughs. So as far as sense of belonging, I had mentioned data. We're looking at attendance. We're looking at behavior. We have our Swiss behavior. So we're looking at students that, you know, what are some of their barriers at school, and collaborating with the social worker and the counselor. I'm proud to say we always have had assemblies. When we went into COVID, we had to discontinue those. Last year we started those back up, but we're building upon those. At the end of the month, we're going to again have veterans. The fourth grade are going to do their songs, and they're inviting a veteran to the assembly. We've had the Officer Hamilton come to school and read to the students and eat lunch with them. John Facella from the safety department, he's a public safety educator, is looking at bringing in the auxiliary to come in during our Veterans Assembly, as well as he's come in to read to students. We're really trying to pull our community in. Kindergarten was supposed to have someone from TD Bank come to talk to them about banking, saving money, but then we had the tragedy last week, so that'll be rescheduled. So we're really looking at bringing community members in and supporting our students for real life understandings, right? Know how to save some money. Why do we have a bank? identifying, one of the areas that we are going to be doing is having students identify a trusted adult, and we are going to have our students all listed in who do we engage with all the time and identify which students might be under the radar, and to ensure that we, besides the classroom teachers, assigning staff to engage with those students so that they feel like they're part of the community. I think if you've ever been to RES in the morning, there's a lot of people outside welcoming students. That's the best part of the day. You know, welcoming them in, helping support kids get to classrooms, and giving them a big hug. We do have a very strong collaboration, whole team approach for behavioral needs, social needs, academic needs, and we meet often and develop plans for students to determine what, you know, how to help them be successful at school. Lastly, under sense of belonging, we have Read to Me campaign. I think it's Windham High School students that will be coming in during library time to read to students starting in December. Any questions?
I guess this is also a question for Mr. Howell, but I'm sure you get 2,000 emails a year, but I had sent a message last year. We chatted briefly about, is it 10,000? You're making me think about social work. So, you know, we had bumped up the social work. We've heard Sweetser a couple of times tonight. Wouldn't expect that we'd be aware of that. No, you're all aware of it, obviously, but have we in the district considered care teams to bring in full-time social workers in a care team environment where they would work in a capacity in a team of people within the building so that they could be transiently used, kind of like what Principal Karen was talking about with Pride, where it's set up for one reason in the beginning, but then over time it can be for transient use where students can kind of come in and out depending on what the needs might be. So there's a caseload work piece to it, but there's also that support piece within the building. And it just, I'm curious about what the gap is in terms of what you had and what you don't have now. Assuming you had those services this year, how much was lost in terms of?
So we gained a half a day with our full-time social worker.
Mm-hmm.
But our Sweetser social worker was there 2 days.
Right.
And so we lost 2 days. And they also provide sometimes the in-home support, which is different. But so we had to look at the students we had and then prioritize which ones for our new social worker who they would take on. So it's challenging when you know all these students do need support.
Okay. Would we expect to see that in the budget this year as a request to fill those gaps?
Yes, and the other thing I just want to mention that most of our other social workers do operate under the model that you're talking about, which they do have some time set aside for appointments for kids, but a lot of it is on an as-needed basis, kids dropping in depending upon what issues and other things. So they've always done a combination of the two. I think the ones that we've seen with either Sweetser or our outside providers, we're basically providing a space, and then Parents Insurance is helping to support some of those counseling services that's independent of RSU 14. So parents are working directly with that counselor. We're basically just providing a space for that to happen. And we're seeing that across Day One and Sweetser and some of the other service providers, that the lack of mental health professionals out there is impacting them, just like it's impacting other places that are looking to hire.
Okay. I know Dr. Rhodes has talked about teaming in the past with respect to that organic process of putting teams together to support, and you're doing that. Right. So that I'd like to hear more about that in terms of how that might work in this case with that deficit. And then how often are you getting an ed tech supported by CDS? Is that an employee of the district and then they're collaborating with CDS?
No, so CDS funded the special ed program.
Okay.
All the equipment, the materials, the furniture, was amazing. It was a lot of unpacking, many days of unpacking. And so they funded the program teacher and an ed tech.
Oh, wow. That's terrific. Thanks. That's all I have. Thank you very much.
All right.
Next up, Dr. Rhodes.
Thank you for the opportunity to talk a little bit about primary school tonight. I'm going to take you on a little cinematic journey to start with. Maybe I'm dating myself, but if you remember movies like Independence Day and Armageddon, I had flashbacks this summer at Wyndham Primary School. One day I walked into the building, walked down to the gymnasium, walked through the back doors of the gym, and almost fell in a 20-foot hole. Looked around, saw lots of things that reminded me of what Independence Day looked like. I'm pleased to say that it looks nothing like that now. We got a temporary floor for the gym, and out behind where we had a little bit of a leak, it looks really wonderful now. Oh, I'm sorry. Thanks. Not as enough of a teacher voice tonight, I guess. Let me take a sip of water though. About 2 days before school started, if you've been to primary school, you know that there's a C, B, and A house, and C is the closest to the football field, and A is closest to the parking lot where parents typically park. There was a piece of pipe that started at the outside exit door of C house and went all the way through the main hallway out to where parents drop off their children in the morning. And I'm thinking to myself, 2 days before school starts, where's this going? Magically, the next morning, it was gone and it was somewhere in our building. I'm not sure, we're quite sure how that all happened, but the point of the two stories is that our facility staff, the contractors, the tech folks that worked this summer, our office staff, did an amazing job getting the school ready. We've had a lot of construction in the past few years, but this year, a lot of it seemed unexpected. And I am just amazed at all the hard work that the custodians, the tech people, our office staff, and all those contractors did, and then Bill Hansen and all of his crew did to put it together. You would have had to been there every day to really see how amazingly well it went. I was a little nervous, and we had to make some adjustments, so I have patience of staff too when we opened up and had those first few days of school. There was still work being done, and there was noise. We had our professional development in places that weren't the most convenient to have them. However, with all that patience and hard work, when kids showed up at our door, they were smiling because the school looked pretty darn normal. So I think it's important to just highlight that. Might sound a little bit like Groundhog Day too, because if you were here as a school board member in the spring, a lot of what I shared about what we had accomplished around our school goals last year is extensions of the work we're doing this year. They align once again because the strategic plan continues on. So they align with the strategic plan, and you've heard from the other schools really share about how there's those two main goals, one around instructional framework. So we're building on the work we started last year. It still is a work in progress around having our staff understanding what the instructional framework is, because it's a pretty meaty but well thought out research-based framework. And it kind of can be like a learning system. What do we want our learners to learn and how? What's the best ways for them to learn the content that our district curricula has. So besides the familiarization, we're also connecting it with our grade levels. Our grade levels are all using our iReady data and are analyzing it and then determining a goal for the year of progress and performance for our learners at each grade level. So they'll be they're developing goals right now to set, and then they will measure them as the year goes on and then determine how successful they were when we do our third round of iReady testing, which will be in June. So that's exciting because it matches up with the framework as well. And I'm pleased to announce that we're already been off and running with providing professional development for our classroom teachers, as well as our other professional staff and even some of our educational technicians. We've had several opportunities, but we've had two formal opportunities where we've accessed, we call them curriculum PD afternoons, where we provide, just like we want for our learners to have choice and voice over what they're learning about, that same format we do with our staff. We've had it, like I said, twice already this year, and we'll have it a few more times as the year goes on. So we really access our coaches, so our writing coach, our math coach, our literacy coach, our tech integrators, and have them provide opportunities in those afternoons that our staff can sign up for and take advantage of. But it's expanded to also the use of some of our special education staff. For example, our assistant director, Karen McMullins, hosted a couple different sessions. We've had Caitlin Dressler, and I'm going to forget some people, but Caitlin Dressler, who's one of our speech therapists, she's our lead for social thinking curriculum. She's led some sessions as well. We've had some work around some of the technology with Parent Square, and so Rebecca Miller and Susie Stevens have offered up sessions around that too. Like I said, I've probably forgotten some people. Sorry about that, but there's been some real good momentum already, and we're just starting November. Second goal is around the sense of belonging, and we've kind of got two prongs for it. We got one, the work that's both happening at the district level, but we also is happening at the local school level, which is around the DEI work. And so we've got a team that's met this year, and Diana Jordan, our assistant principal, is leading that work at the school-wide level, but we're also involved with anything that the district's able to offer, and really using that team to lead that work, and use their feedback loop with our staff about what do they need, and what can we offer them, because we all need to have a better sense and a better understanding of what does it really mean when we talk about diversity, equity, and inclusion. But the second prong is sort of resurrecting some of what we've done in the past, but also expanding and building on that so that we can do more. And it's really around that sense of belonging in regards to when we were coming off the pandemic, our families really made it clear through feedback they had given on surveys that they wanted more involvement in the school. They want our school to be seen as a welcoming place, and wanted to be able to participate in the school. So, for a while we've had some traditional annual events that occur, but we expanded on those last year, and we'll continue those forward, moving forward with those, but also looking for more opportunities to do that. So, for example, we've had Family Academy for quite a while. In some years we have a couple of events. And we've had times where we've had at least one event every month of the school year. We're getting back to closer to that now. We won't have one every month, but almost every month we'll have for the rest of the year some type of event. And many were very well attended last year. And there's some examples that I shared from last year with you in the spring, but you can also see them in my update. One thing I'm really proud of, though, is that in my career at Windham Primary School, we've never started the year so short-staffed as we did this year. But what I'm really proud of is our staff in the way they handled it, the way they pitched in and helped each other out. I'm pleased to say that we're getting close to being fully staffed right now, really close. So kudos to everyone's help with the hiring process, and that includes our central office too. Because they're great about making it all happen so that we can get someone that we want to hire in and working. And at the same time, people really pitched in those first few weeks of school. And once again, if you're not there every day, you're not going to know it. Because from the outside looking at it, it probably looks great. But people really stepped up, doing duties, covering for people. And, just like I think it was Beth was talking about, we've had some sickness. Big school like ours, we're always going to have somebody who's sick. So even to start those first few weeks when we were experiencing that short staff, people really did a great job. I'm really proud of that. And I probably can't say enough about how much people at times were put out of their comfort zone, but they did it because what matters is our learners, and our learners feeling safe and being able to learn. So. Since I'm up here, I'm just going to do a quick shout out that we had to reschedule the Fall Festival. So it's this Saturday, and the weather isn't as nice as last Saturday, but it's looking like it's going to be clear, and November 50s is pretty good. So we've got that coming up. We've also got a STEM night coming up on, which is also a Title I night, on the 14th. That's at 5:30. Fall Festival's 1 to 4. Pumpkins are coming on Friday from Pineland, so we'll have plenty of pumpkins. And I'm going to end on this, that, Monday came, and I got home, and I was like, there's like a weight lifted off my body from Monday, because I was like, so trepidation around what's Monday going to be like. But the reality was, it was pretty normal, and our staff did an amazing job of monitoring for our learners and determining if they needed extra support. And there was learners that needed extra support, and there was staff that needed extra support. However, everyone did such a great job of keeping it as normal as possible, because learners at our level thrive on routine, that like normalcy, and I believe they were glad to be back, and it showed. There's a lot of smiles. So I'll turn it over to you for questions, but I really appreciate the opportunity to share a little bit about what's been happening at Wyndham Primary School.
Go ahead, Chair.
So thank you to you and your staff for being able to go through the great flood of Wyndham Primary School so well.
Exactly, yeah. Yes.
But I do have a question under goal number 2. The third bullet talks about maintaining equity within the building. How do you manage to create an environment and a result of equity with limited resources? Because you talked extensively about shortage of staff. So how are you maintaining equity with limited resources?
Well, we always like more resources, for sure. But part of it is having a voice. Like when you think of primary school, there's the notion of 3 houses. There's 3 schedules for the most part. And making sure that there's representatives for all of those different components of our school, so that when we're implementing a program, or we're looking at how do we support students with SEL, for example, that there is some level of consistency and continuity across the school, but also allowing for the staff to have the ability to be flexible as well. So it's having those feedback loops. So for example, we have team leaders, and there's a team leader that represents each grade, but if you look at our school as a whole, there's a team leader in every house as well, at least one. In most houses, there's 2. So it's that kind of having those systems in place that allow us to continue to check. My experience is if you have those structures, you're able to get closer to having that equity than maybe one person having one voice, or not having that representation that's part of a system. So, you're welcome.
Looks like that's it. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Have a great night.
And last but not least, Mr. Nash.
While I'm moving to the mic, I just ask you all to stand up for a few seconds. Anyone in the audience who wants to stand up? Maybe move your head around a little bit, shake your arms out, shake your legs. You know, you've been sitting up there for almost 2.5 hours, so I thought maybe you'd appreciate that. So, and I know I'm last on the agenda, so I want to make sure you're awake for my presentation. So that's my ultimate goal right there. So, well, thank you. I'm going to follow the lead of my colleagues here to talk about what's gone well with the opening of our school. Our school, I say the adult ed program, our building, which is located behind the high school here. Our fall enrichment courses have seen very positive enrollments with very few canceled sessions. We ran a report this morning, and compared to the same time last year, July 1st to November 1st, our registrations are up by 22%. Oh, actually 38%. There we go. So you're not going to see that on your report there, but it was just handed to me this afternoon before I came here. So we have 709 registrations as of today. Our revenues have gone up 128%. from $16,000 to almost $37,000. So people are coming back to us, which is really, really important for our program. We had a very successful substitute teacher training class. I know that one board member up there took part in that. That was held on the in-service day, which I thought that model worked quite well. It's the time that substitutes would be teaching in your buildings. And it's time the administrators are there so they could actually give a tour and an introduction to their school. I appreciate the local libraries and the schools that helped us collect books for our Adult Education and Family Literacy Week. We collected over 600 books, which were then donated to the Book Fairy Project, the Book Fairy Pantry Project, in Portland, which is associated with Maine Needs. So what they do when they give out items for families, clothing, food items, they also include age-appropriate books for those families. We have 65 new Mainers, multilingual learners, that have joined our program since the beginning of September. And they are coming to us almost a couple, 2 to 3 new students a week. And those students come to us with often a lot of challenges, but and I'll get to this when we get to how we create a sense of belonging, but I'll talk about that then. We have a map that we put up in our classroom, and I don't know how big it is, 5 by 7, 6 by 9. It's huge. It's on the wall, and students are now able to go up to that map and put a little dot on, where they come from in the world, and then they can tell stories about that or their story, how they got from there to here. So it's something that they really feel positive about. We also have little tiny mini flags of all the countries where our students come from. There's over 40 different flags in that classroom. So we just want to let you know that we accept students from all over the world into our program. Another positive is one of our multilingual learners from Angola who've been receiving digital literacy training and ESL tutoring, along with some resume writing and some coaching and interview skills, just got his first job in the United States. So we're very, very proud of that. I'm going to skip to District Goal 2, sense of belonging. Again, we continue to welcome all students into our program, regardless of cultural and geographic background. We acknowledge the hardships and struggles that they've faced to get to us, and we celebrate even the smallest of victories that they may share. We take the effort to learn about our students' backgrounds, their level 1 languages. Now, sometimes students come to us knowing 3, 4, 5 languages. They're good at their native language, but maybe not so other ones. But they can speak to us maybe in a little bit of French, or a little bit of Spanish, something else. But we're there to help them improve their English skills, so that's what they come to us for. We honor all the languages that they can speak. In light of global and now local violent events, we explore ways, we need to explore more ways that we can provide mental health supports for our students in crisis. Other schools have an ability to call on a guidance counselor or a social worker. We don't have that. So I'm hoping that somewhere down the road we can talk about how our adult learners can also benefit from that service. We also need to continue to engage students more actively and more often, because we have rolling enrollments, in the conversation about what it means to be in a safe, welcoming environment. Our students participated in the school-wide survey that was done last spring. So I was very happy to have them included in that. And we'll take that information to help us improve our programming. When students come to us with a feeling of not belonging elsewhere, what can we do to support them? But also, how can we then inform their practice in the building from which they came? Can we share that information back to the building principal? We're also looking to change the stigma associated with attending our program. Students should not be labeled as dropouts, but rather be seen as making a positive lateral move to one of the several options that was mentioned earlier, an alternative pathway. Our staff continues to serve on the district SEL and DEI committees. We have 2 staff members that are serving on the Wyndham Age-Well Committee, which includes members from the Wyndham Public Library, Parks and Recreation, Town Council, School Board, Town Economic Development Department, and other community members to provide meaningful programs and services to the underserved aging population. So that's what we're doing to help people feel help people feel belong to our program. Let's see. We've also accepted donations of clothing and food to our program. You'd be surprised when students come in and they see that there's a bowl of candy. I'm sorry. Jeannie's not here, is she? No. Or we have Kind bars, or we have Smart Pop, or we have other food that they can have. But they come to us with food insecurities as well. And they're just very appreciative that they can take a bag of popcorn. That's maybe the only meal they've had that day. So we appreciate that, and we probably want to look for more ways to bring some items into our program. We say hello, goodbye, and congratulations in their own language. You should see the smile on their face when we do that. It helps them feel welcome. We take pictures of students when they graduate, obviously with their permission, and we post that on social media. And we have gotten some wonderful response from that. One of our teachers is Jessica Conley, who teaches math at the high school. One of our students successfully passed the high set, which has taken over for the GED. I think she had over 600 likes the last time we checked. So it brings a positive, puts a positive light on our program, but also on the district. Let's see. We've also been working with employers, and you might know that Wyndham Weaponry is closing their doors. So with my connections, I'm a member of the Chamber of Commerce. I think it's very important that I have that community connection. I've been doing that for the last 20 years here. And in every program that I've been in for the last almost 40 years. And you make those connections, right? And then the business member comes to you and says, I call you and say, hey, Tom, can you help my brother-in-law, my sister that's getting laid off? Can they come talk to you? What kind of services can you provide? We can provide resume writing, job hunting skills, interview skills, job search. We can do all this stuff, and it's free to the community. So I think it's just important that people know that. I'm glad this is being broadcast, so someone out there might get this information and say, wow, I didn't know I could get that through adult ed. And finally, and I'm sorry, can I get my water? Is that okay? And in terms of goal 1, what we do is we work with students on a framework called Teaching Skills That Matter. And the Teaching Skills That Matter, it is set up to provide integrating skills into the classroom that can transfer to their adult life. So what we work on are skills such as adaptability and willingness to learn, communication, critical thinking skills, interpersonal skills, navigating systems, problem solving, processing and analyzing information, respecting differences and diversity, self-awareness. 5 topic areas include civics education, digital literacy, financial literacy, health literacy, and what all adults are coming to us for ultimately is workforce preparation. And we take an approach using integrated and contextualized learning, problem-based learning, and project-based learning. And so our teachers are trained in that. They use that. We do peer observations. We work with our students. Oftentimes it's just one-on-one, quite frankly. But we give the students what they need, what those students will need to be successful, whether they leave us and go to the world of work, or they're looking to get into some certificate program, 2-year college. And it's nice that our adult ed graduates also qualify for free community college. So I think that might be it. Our most important class, enrolled class is our ESOL program, English for Speakers of Other Languages. Again, we have 65 students taking 80 different classes with us, and we do a hybrid approach. Some of those adults are with us. They're finding success because they can only do it remotely. They have barriers to participate. They can't get here. They have no transportation. They have childcare challenges, or they have to work. So being able to do the classes virtually has made a huge difference for them. So we continue. That was definitely a silver lining coming out of the pandemic for us. So I think I've hit all my points here, and some that weren't on the report. So now we can answer any questions you might have. And take another drink of water.
Go ahead, Shar.
So thank you for that great recap of all the wonderful work you're doing for the community.
And thank you.
My question for you is, what is on your wish list for content you'd like to bring in the future?
Oh, gosh. If we could offer English for speakers of other language classes, it's 5 days a week for 7 hours a day, they would be full. The students come to us from other programs who they have waiting lists, and they will tell us, why can't, or they'll ask us, why can't we take more classes with you? Can I come on Tuesday? Can I come on Wednesday? Can I come on Thursday? No, we only have it on Monday mornings, I'm sorry. So additional funding for English language learners. I'd like to do more workforce training for people in the community. If they reach out to us and say, can you offer us a Microsoft Excel training class, we'll be happy to do that for them. So, other wish list? I know it's a great school system to work for. It really is. And I think we have support from Chris and Christine and the school board. I want to thank Kate Bricks for supporting us over the last, I've been here 20 years. She's what, 22 years, Chris, you said? So she's been there, always asking questions about our program, always interested in what we do, always, again, supporting our adult learners in every step of the way. So I appreciate that, Kate. If you're out there, thank you again for your support over the years.
I know two people that are, one graduated, one's trying to graduate right now in my close family, and I just enrolled in the program last week, and I think what you're doing there is really terrific for all people. I've had two full careers home for a while now. My first job actually in the United States was at RSU 14 in the kitchen when I came from Canada. It's interesting, you can have a full-time career and go through transitions, and the course that I just signed up for and the one that I know for the two peers that I have in my close circle indicative of those things exactly, just transitions and needing to do something else. So I just want to make that comment. I think what you've got as an offering is significant and impactful for our community.
Thank you. We partner with an organization called Learning Education Resource Network, which is a national organization, to provide certificate, short-term certificate training for them, and our enrollments have gone through the roof. Again, it doesn't take place of being in person, but it provides opportunities for students, adults, to get some of those real life, world job skills, so they can transfer those to the workplace. So.
I was just going to comment that I enjoyed going through your program. I had been through your building before. I've been through all the buildings, but it's different to actually participate. So that was really great, and I hope that is part of the reason that Beth was able to get so many subs. I hope that was a...
I hope it helped too.
But anyway, it was wonderful. All your staff were great, and I just want to echo that your program is such a great connecting point for the community and for wherever they are in life to just help to get to that next step. So wonderful work.
Well,
thank you very much.
Thank you.
And just say one thing is, just want to thank all of our administrators who are here tonight. Just thank you for your work. All the professional work that you heard about tonight is in addition to all the different things that happen in running a building day in, day out, and all the unexpected things that happen. So just thank you for your work. Thank you for the alignment to the overall district work and really working together as a team to make sure that the needs of our students and our staff are met across the district. So just a big thank you. And then also, they're all going to be supporting buildings early in the morning. So I know we're going to do board goals, but after that I would suggest you head on out, get some rest, and prep for a Thursday morning at school.
Okay. Yeah, bye. Next up is school board goals. So I'm just going to talk about that process we went through a little bit. We had our goal workshop and self-eval on September 20th of this year. All 9 of us attended, plus some members of the public. We worked through a process to set the goals as a team. First, we looked at the powers and duties of school boards that are established in Maine statute. Those being policymaking, educational programming, personnel employment, budget finance, school facilities, communication with the public. Each of us had an opportunity to jot down some topics for discussion or goals that we'd like to see, and then we sorted them into one of the 6 categories. We had an opportunity to discuss all of them, but we really focused our time on the 2 categories that most of our discussion points landed in, which was communication with the public and educational programming. So the themes that emerged from those discussions is what we used in developing the goals. So I'm just going to read the 3 goals that we came up with for this year. First, the board will work to support stronger board community relations by requesting that the district organize topic-specific informational sessions that provide members of the community with an opportunity to ask questions, share concerns, and deepen understanding. Second, the board will work to improve internal and external communication and adhere to established norms. And third, the board will work to better understand varied assessment types and practices of student learning and instructional or programmatic shifts in response to data. So this board goals document I've asked you to place on the website for the public. That will include all our action steps. And then next year we'll take a look at this again and see how we did and how we want to move forward for the year following. So did anybody have anything they want to add to that? Okay, so moving on, may I have a motion?
I move to approve going into executive session to discuss the superintendent's evaluation pursuant to 1 MRSA subsection 4056A and not return to regular meeting.
Second.
All those in favor?
Jessica Bridges?
Yes.
Jenny Butler?
Yes.
Jody Carroll?
Yes.
Caitlin Downs?
Yes.
Marge Gavoni? Shar Jewell?
Yes.
Christina Small?
Yes. The motion carries. Good night.